number 9 and 10, they're new. Let's get...
Hey, I'm Wavy, also known as the Mayo Muncher, and also known as Jimmy O Yang from New Zealand. And I've gathered a ton of knowledge I've had regarding game sensitivity, what sensitivity works best for what games, and more. I hope you guys enjoy this style of video, as this isn't the type of content you'd expect to see on my channel. This is sort of a passion project, so please do let me know if you guys like this, and I'll see if I want to pursue this type of content in the future. Please express your appreciation in the comment section. I welcome all input, as it helps me to understand whether you liked or disapproved of the video. So grab your notepads and Jolly Ranchers and enjoy the video. Sensitivity. The thing that you change every 2 seconds after you die in a game. Defined as the distance moved by the mouse over the mousepad to travel a certain distance inside the game. With so many confusing terms in place, it may be difficult for you to find the perfect sensitivity in FPS games. While it may be hard to find your perfect sensitivity in competitive games, I hope that this video will make it easier for you to understand and possibly have a grasp on what your sensitivity would be in each game. Should it be a fast-paced game where you constantly need to keep your mouse moving like Modern Warfare? Overwatch. Or Roblox? Or a slower paced game like Valorant or CSGO. Your aim depends on how fast or slow your mouse or controller sensitivity is. Of course, many factors will affect this, such as choice of mousepad if you care, and even the type of game that you want to adjust your sensitivity in. Notice how I said mousepad? Yes, different types of mousepads have different speeds. I'll get into it later. If you're playing a story game, obviously you wouldn't need to watch this, but please do. I need the watch time to get on the algorithm, please. But if you're struggling to find your sins or just want to listen to me babble on about numbers in games, go right ahead. It's completely appreciated. Now, I went on about mice and mouse pads to affect sins, and yes, these can sometimes affect your sensitivity choices. So, mouse, whatever you want to call it, they can affect your sensitivity and what you're looking for with your sensitivity preference. First of all, the sensor. If you're getting a Chinese knockoff gaming RGB 6000 polling rate lightweight gaming mouse from Amazon or Wish for $6, you're obviously not going to get good performance once it comes. Well, unless you're getting a Deluxe M800, which is one of the best budget wireless mice, not based. If you're looking to see how one of these quote-unquote cheap budget gaming mice perform, go check out Optimum Tech's video on them. He really goes in depth about the sensor latency and the build quality of the mice. Really great YouTuber. Check him out if you're into PCs and peripherals of the sort. Now, once you find a good mouse, you need to worry about the weight of the mouse. Well, I mean, if you care about that, of course. I'm talking to you Starlight users. If you're going from a heavy mouse like a Logitech G502 to a superlight or a glorious model ABC Plus, you're going to have to either get adjusted to the sins you had on the G502 or lower your sins down due to the weight being reduced. Well, now this isn't always the case, but it can happen. It happened to me when I switched from my glorious model D- to my superlight. A heavy mouse user can benefit in the sense that heavy mice offer more accuracy and control, and light mouse users can benefit by it being good for tracking and constant mouse movement. It's good to look for a good average in mice where the mouse isn't too light or too heavy. Good examples of these are the Logitech G Pro Hero or the Razer Death Adder. Too long didn't watch, Chinese knockoff mouse bad, sins can change depending on weight of mouse. Next point. Unlike the mouse section of this video, this segment won't be as long. You may disagree with me, but mousepads can alter your sensitivity. Different fabrics and stitching are used in several mousepads such as the G640, Artisan Heian, and Zowie GSR, to address various factors like mouse speed and control. If you decide to purchase a glass mousepad such as the SkyPad 3.0 or a glass infused mousepad such as the Glorious Ice or the Artisan Shirenkai, these are referred to as speed pads and are designed for those who desire very little friction and more glide. For those who desire a nice balance of a swift glide and with precise control, the aforementioned G640, Artisan Heian, and Zowie GSR are regarded as speed/control pads. You've sat through the variables which would mostly affect sensitivity in games. Now, it's time to get to the main topic and the reason why I made this video. Wild animal I mean sensitivity, right? Game sensitivity. Anyway, there are 3 levels of sensitivity in video games: low, high, and medium. The sensitivity measurements can either be expressed in percentages or figures, depending on the game. In contrast to games like Fortnite, which uses a percentage slider to adjust their sends, Valorant and CSGO employ digit sliders to adjust their in-game sends to 0.000 to as high as 10 in-game sensitivity. You can see me playing a deathmatch in Valorant with an in-game sensitivity of 0.24 in the backdrop. If you look at the hand cam, you can see that while I'm playing with this high sends, I only really use the top left of the mouse base that I'm given. High sends is excellent for people who like minimal hand movement because it has advantages like faster flicking and better tracking. For this reason, wrist aimers prefer to utilize the higher sends. I used to favor a high sends since I moved from Apex to Valorant, but as I played more and more Valorant, I began to favor a lower sends for greater control and more accurate aim. Not to discredit players who continue to use high sends, you can make amazing and flashy plays with high sends, and the flicks I've seen occasionally have been breathtaking and mesmerizing, but personally, I like to use a lower sends or even a middle sends when I'm playing to benefit from both speed and precision. Pros frequently utilize a lower sends in games like Valorant, but a fair number use high sends, pros such as Forsaken, Divide, and Vippy. We use Forsaken as an example, who has an EDPI of 569. Nice. You ask, what is EDPI? EDPI stands for effective dots per inch, and it defines a mouse's real sensitivity based on the DPI and sensitivity of the game. An average Valorant player's EDPI is about 280 on average. You ask me, how do you get your EDPI? Well, if we go to Omni Calculator, which I've linked in the description, put in our preferred DPI and our in-game sends, we can get our EDPI just down here. As you can see, my EDPI is 288. Now we move on to the middle ground sensitivity, or quote unquote in the middle of sensitivity. In the background, I have another deathmatch with 0.177 sensitivity loaded up. I consider this to be a middle ground sensitivity because I can switch between 0.24, 0.177, and 0.127 sensitivity. My sends will vary greatly depending on which agent I play. If I want to play Duelist, I use a moderately fast sends like 0.24. If I want to play Initiator, I'd use a middle ground sends like 0.177 to avoid flashes, flash from my team, be able to flick to a player if I'm lining up a molly or a shock dart, and so on. As you can see, I'm using a little more mouse space with this average sensitivity as opposed to barely moving from the corner of my mouse pad. The benefits of this sensitivity are the flexibility of the speed and control that you get. You can still flick away and look away from flashes, switch targets, and track targets more precisely. I recommend this sensitivity to those who are still figuring out their exact preference for their sends, as it is useful to know whether they want their sensitivity to be faster or slower. This sensitivity is what I consider low. This is 0.127 on 1600 DPI. You can see I'm using most of the mousepad space compared to the other two sensitivities. This isn't a good example because I whiff worse than a Rosa ult, but I do feel it's a good demonstration of a low sensitivity. The benefit of using a low sensitivity is more control over accuracy. Yes, it may be slow, but it's good for micro adjustment, unless you have a mousepad the size of your wallet, or the size of your whole desk and you like to swing your whole arm, then you are able to comfortably use this sends. Again, sensitivity is subjective and differs from person to person depending on both mouse base and preference of the user. This is what most Valorant and CSGO pros use, as they depend on their arm to move the mouse greater distances than when they're micro adjusting to click heads. Like I've mentioned before, arm aimers prefer this kind of slow type of sensitivity as opposed to wrist aimers, which are used to a medium to high sensitivity. Well, unless you're a complete menace and decide to use your arm to aim with a high sensitivity. Low sensitivity is considered the average EDPI of Valorant players. As mentioned before, the average Valorant player's EDPI is 280. Now, I'm gonna lead back to a point that I mentioned before, but low sense is not recommended for those who have bought a Chinese knockoff gaming mouse because the sensor tends to freak out. Here's an example.
We haven't even gotten to the worst part about this mouse, which is by far when it comes time to actually use this thing in game. Whenever you do any moderate to fast movement, the sensor just freaks out and stops tracking. So if you need to do a fast 180 or flick to an enemy, you literally can't do that. You'll just end up aiming at the sky or the floor for whatever reason. I tried every single DPI setting to try and give this thing the best chance that it had, and it was still an issue. So honestly, I have no idea how this mouse is even allowed to exist, let alone how it has 4 out of 5 stars on Amazon. In fact, the only way that you can get a kill with this mouse is if the enemy just somehow walks into your crosshair, because aiming with this thing is absolutely horrible. Even playing with less mouse movement and only trying to use my wrist, sometimes my cursor would just continue to move even though I wasn't moving the mouse at all. So it's safe to say that the firmware and sensor on this thing are absolutely busted. There is no way in hell this thing is worth $20.
Okay, now I'm going to go on a tangent about RawXL. This is a program that the Valorant community is split about. Some players will argue that this will quote unquote improve your aim, and some will say that it'll make you worse and inconsistent. What's RawXL, you ask? Well, you know that thing that people tell you to turn off in your Windows mouse settings? Yeah, the enhanced pointer precision? Well, yeah, people tell you to turn that off because it makes your aim shit, because the mouse acceleration that Windows provides is ass. That's why players like me use a program like RawXL, also linked in the description if you want to check it out. RawXL is pretty much mouse acceleration, but better than the standard tuning that Windows gives you, since you are able to tune RawXL to your personal needs and preferences. Okay, so here's an explanation on what mouse acceleration is. So mouse acceleration pretty much speeds up your mouse depending on how fast you move your mouse. So say that I'm flicking from holds into hookah, you can see I'm flicking like this, like really fast. So if I tried to do that, like normally it would keep the sensitivity that I have, which is 0.15 right here. So it would stay on 0.15 no matter how fast I flick. So pretty much RawXL or mouse acceleration gives you the benefit of both worlds of having being able to have low and high sensitivity. So if you play on like a 0.12, which is what I should be playing on for some reason, you can have the benefit of low sensitivity and high sensitivity depending on how fast you flick the mouse. So if I put on a preset right here for RawXL, we're gonna put in linear, is what most people use. But we're gonna turn it down to 0.04 and then apply. So you can see that line just goes up and up and up. So pretty much this is how fast your mouse moves. You can see that red dot that's moving. So depending on how fast you move your mouse, it will go up higher on the scale. So if I move my mouse really fast, you can see that it's going to like the middle of the line. But if I move it slow, it will stay down there. So pretty much the slower you move your mouse, it will stay the same. But the faster that you move, the more the sensitivity will increase. So say that I was going to be flicking from alls into hookah, it can just be straight. So if you're really fast, sensitivity will increase. And you won't need to move your arms around as much. So like say I'm peeking like calls, and then I hear someone hookah, it will be as quick as high sensitivity. So yeah, this is pretty much the preset that I use. It's just 0.03 on the acceleration scale. So if I were to try and do this with just like normal sends without RawXL, it would be much slower, and I'd have to use most of my arm since I'll be staying on the same low sensitivity. So if we turn that down, and apply in the Valorant, I'll have to use most of my arm to flick. I can also enjoy the wrist aiming if I was using low sends. I mean high sense, sorry. So if I'm using low sense, I can peek that, micro adjustments, and then if I hear someone, I'll have to use my whole arm pretty much to like flick to them. But if I move really fast with my mouse with raw XL on, it would just flick faster. So let's turn that on again. And here, 0.03. I wouldn't have to flick around as much if I flick really fast, pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty much like a explanation of what mouse acceleration is. Hopefully that it was good enough for you guys to understand. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video. Thank you. Personally, I use raw XL, but I wouldn't say that my aim and skill is completely dependent on it. Yes, it's handy to have the benefits of both high and low sensitivity, but then again, people's raw aim and skill can easily trump raw XL users. I just feel that it's handy to be able to have the benefits from both sensitivities. So, in conclusion, what sensitivity should you use? Well, whatever you're comfortable with. I've been repeating this for most of the video, but I'm going to say it again. Sensitivity is subjective and preference based. But for a very basic guideline, is for fast-paced games like Modern Warfare, Overwatch, Apex Legends, you're generally going to want to have a fast sensitivity to switch targets and prioritize tracking. For slower-paced games or tactical shooters, you're going to want to have a slower sensitivity for precision and accuracy for micro adjustments you're going to be making to correct your aim to be on your opponent's head. And to touch upon raw XL, should you use it? Well, yes and no. If you want to have the benefits of both high and low sensitivity, go for it. But there's a slight learning curve before you get to completely controlling it. And as for the claim that it makes you better at Valorant or games, to put it simply, no. It all depends on the player's skill, aim, and game sense. You can train your aiming by playing aim labs or just constantly playing deathmatches and deathmatches and deathmatches, and you can even adjust your own sensitivity to your own liking. Do not fall for people saying you should use the sens, because everyone has their own preference on sens. This is completely off script at the end here, but honestly, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took me a while to make, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video again. I'm really passionate about this kind of stuff, explaining about things that I know about. I'm planning on making other videos, but I'm not really sure if I want to release that yet. So yeah, anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you share it with your friends. Tell me what you thought about the video in the description of the comment section. Just let me know what you guys thought of it, and it will really help me with feedback. So I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.